Matt Lenihan for About Boxing, brought to you by Zaffa, the #1 in men's supplements and our Kings competitions. Finally got you on the channel. I appreciate you. You always reply. I've got to give it to you. Not yes, sometimes it goes into the ether with some people, but you eventually always reply. Good to see you. You looking well?
That's it, man. Eventually. That's what I always say, man. Eventually, I'll get to you, and until then, just know I don't hate you. I'm just doing the best I can.
I have to say, when I started this new venture, before we talk boxing, you said I didn't just like this post because I was tagged in it, but I appreciate you and stuff like that. That meant a lot, so I want to say thank you for that.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about, but we'll just get through the main bits.
Okay. I don't know.
Breaking news today was.
I didn't hear it.
You're about to. I actually broke the real news after it. So.
You broke it.
We did. So the Mail Sport reported that Fury and Joshua is actually now signed for Madison Square Garden.
The what?
The Mail Sport in the UK reported that it was now signed and done.
Okay.
Eddie Hearn, I spoke to him straight away because we just interviewed, and then the news came out, and I'm like, well, you could have told me this. And he said, totally incorrect. Not done.
Oh.
What do you make of this saga? For us in the UK, we're like, can we just get this done now?
Yeah.
When you in America, is it as big out here? When you hear about the fight.
It's not, and I'm sorry to cut you off. The fight is not as big out here. This fight for the UK, for the neighboring countries, for the sake of words, the neighboring nations, if you will. This fight's humongous over there. I like what Eddie Hearn's doing, though. And this is my first time hearing this. I heard on Saturday, so just like 3 or 4 days ago, I heard that there was talks about this fight possibly happening in America, and I was like, nah. Then I heard New York, and I was like, I like it, and I'll tell you why. And again, selfish of me being an American, I know that the English, they're gonna come over here to watch the fight. When you talk about legacy and history and boxing, the history and legacy of New York in boxing it reaches the prestige of England. You guys really, you show up to every fight, you watch. I know that you guys are there for, not the lowest of the undercard, but you guys are there the whole day enjoying the event. And you guys understand, here in the States, we've got our rhythm and our routine of, hey, call me when the co-main's on, walking in, yo, the co-main going yet, So I just think that the energy that this fight is going to bring to Madison Square Garden, should it be in New York at the Garden, would be, it's going to be amazing. And I like it because I think that hey, cut that music. I like it because I think that boxing is still, it's not starving anymore, but it's a whole bunch of full plates out there that have not been eaten yet by the public, by boxing in general, by sports in America. And I think that this fight brings, that heavyweight prestige that we've always had here in America. Obviously there's history for both those guys here in America as well. So I like it.
Let me ask, we're on the cusp, obviously, with Rolly and Teo coming up. I want to ask you about Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia first. You did a little bit of a spar with Conor Benn, I believe, when you came over.
Right.
Does that leave an impression on you to how you think this fight goes, or do you judge it off? Obviously, he's been at such a high weight. He looked quite strong at them higher weights.
Right.
He's now had to drop. And I saw an interview where he said, this could be one and done at this weight. And I thought, is this him throwing a comment out there so that Ryan looks and goes, he's struggling? Or could that weight differentiate, really affect him?
I think the weight cut's going to affect him. He hasn't been at 147 pounds in a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. So I think once your body acclimates to another, not even just another weight class, but because you imagine we all walk around heavier than where we fight at, but the manipulation it takes to continue to pull that weight down, once you stop that manipulation and you try to reinforce it again, it doesn't spark the same always. It doesn't always spark the same. Obviously, we saw Clarissa get the weight off. She came back. She looked great. For Conor Benn, I think he has to have extraordinary discipline with bringing his weight back down to 147 pounds.
We've seen Ryan previously. I'm going to reference the Rolly fight now. Maybe that's a little bit unfair because he went on to have a good performance against Barrios.
An amazing performance against Barrios.
But he did freeze against Rolly a little bit. And I look at the Conor Benn and think, if your intensity is on it for the first rounds,
right,
could that potentially put Ryan in a state of shock? And there's always been a question about Ryan. And look, I'm no one to question anyone. I haven't done this. But there's people who will label him saying when he got knocked down against Tank in that second fight, you could have got up.
Right.
Conor Benn, for whatever anyone thinks, he is relentless. And you'll have experienced, I'm sure, that in sparring. It's pressure. That must have been like two trains going at it, by the way.
Well, you know, when we sparred, and that was what I found surprising the first time they fought Chris Eubank. The Conor Benn that I had sparred at that point in time, he moved. He showed some lightness with his feet, showed some quickness with his feet, and he showed some true boxing ability. And again, love him for carrying me, because in a lot of ways I felt like that's what it was going on. We were just moving around.
Of course.
But in the process of moving around, I thought, okay, this dude can box more than anyone knows. You know, you just look at him, and right behind the physique is that mentality, and you're like, man, this dude is just, he's coming to bite anything in front of him, and he's going to keep going until he does, but he can actually box. We saw that in the rematch with Chris Eubank, and so this fight that he has coming up with Ryan Garcia, I think if he has a good mix of boxing and going after Ryan, this could be a good fight that he has a good opportunity of controlling. I think for him, it's not come out with the ferociousness off the bat. I think that Ryan probably he works well under what's the word I want to use in the craze.
Yeah.
You know, he works well in the craze. You know, but if you come with that intensity and you're able to make him miss and you're actually able to connect, that's when he gets a little, or could get a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable. So, but I also like a a Conor Benn that's feinting and, you know, using that head movement the way that he did in his fight with even with Prograis as well.
Yeah, I think in the second fight as well, he showed a lot of discipline because he wasn't the same as just going for him. And I think, in fairness to Chris, he didn't look at the races, but you can't take nothing away from Conor. Let me ask you, you know when the state of boxing is now, where you look around and you see Zuffa boxing, for instance, coming in, they talk about the sanctioning bodies, the belts, and look, we've seen the belts beyond the shows. We don't know if that's long term, but we've talked about the bigger picture. Do you think sometimes the sanctioning bodies almost, I've used the phrase before, put the bullets in Dana White's gun sometimes? When I see, for instance, a Janabek, he's saying all this, and then we see Janabek, who's failed the test, come back in. Now he's apparently in line to fight Shiraz, and you're looking going, And Dana White's sitting there going, you're doing my job. Keep going. What do you think about that?
The state of sport, the state of the world right now, where you can easily report on something, is something that the business of boxing hasn't got a full grasp and under comprehension of yet. They're still moving in the ways that they always have. Before, we just never knew it.
Yeah.
My era, right around 2000 and maybe 2010, 2015 is when fighters really started to kind of speak up, started to kind of say, whoa, wait a minute, why do I have to take that fight when I can have this fight? And what is this mandatory? I don't want the mandatory. I want the other champion. You know, once we really started to speak up, I think that's when the narratives that had been myth previously were starting to become true. And now it's like these sanctioning bodies, it seems like all of them, every time I turn around, like I'm hearing something about one of the sanctions doing something that you just have to simply sit back and question what, why, how, what is going on. And it's simply because they don't understand that times are changing and you got to change too. They're not changing, and it's going to catch up to them.
In terms of yourself, we've talked off camera before. You're one of the fighters who I look at and go, you know what, he's quite happy. He's not really itching to get back in.
Yeah.
You surround yourself with boxing all the time. There's the Portaway podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that. You've got that going on. I know you're doing your analysis, I believe, on TNT.
Yeah, I'm on TNT now with Terence and Tim.
And that's is that what helps keep you away from even thinking? Because you're involved all the time.
Yeah, no, shout out to the Fight TNT crew. It's been great so far. We come back September 4th, New Jersey. We got Kaneba getting in the ring with Ruiz. That's going to be a good one. Happy to be a part of that whole crew. Timothy Bradley is amazing. I've always admired him. Blows my mind that he's always admired me too, and I'm like, man, Terence has just jumped in, and my man does not mind jumping into the deep end, which I love because it's really, we're able to hit, and everything else that I do with boxing. It wasn't for the sake of, if I surround myself with it, then I won't want to do it. It wasn't, this is all I know. It wasn't, I looked at myself, and I've always looked at myself as an advocate for boxing, as one of the, for the sake of words, one of the good guys, one of the guys that you can look up to, you can admire someone. I mentor fighters all the time, people in general. The list kind of goes on, but boxing is where I come from. So it's like, before I give back to film, before I give back to football, before I give back to basketball, shout out to Jason Tatum. I've had the opportunity to work with him lately. Before I give to any of those things, I gotta always give back to boxing.
I feel like you're one of the fighters. Speaking to one of my friends, a professional, your main goals in boxing, obviously legacy is great, world titles. Health is number one important. Come out of this sport with all your faculties, and if you can seemingly not want to count your pocket, you seem to be doing well. Do you sort of go, you know what, I can sleep at night knowing as well that I've got the who's who on my resume? Because there's fighters I look at now and go, you know what, you may regret this. You'll leave, and don't get me wrong, I'm sorry to have the money, but when we're talking about the other side of it, you can say, look, yeah, I went in with the best, won some, lost some, but ultimately, who else could you have fought? It's
funny you asked that, because today, I've never really thought this about myself until today. I was like, I am a generational fighter. And, as the Porterway podcast, I'm always looking to talk about the other generational fighters and stuff like that. Boots Ennis, Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, the list goes on. And
throwback fighters.
I've heard that word prodigy being thrown around a lot with a couple of young guys, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're calling those guys prodigies, but you didn't call Andre Ward a prodigy. You didn't call Andre Darrell a prodigy. I saw those guys. You know what I mean? You didn't call Terence Crawford a prodigy. You didn't call Floyd Mayweather a prodigy. So upon always looking to narrate all those kinds of things, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror today. I was like, wait a minute, you're a generational fighter, if only because you fought all of the top guys in your generation when they were 100%,
But not only that, you do have the accolades to go with it, and you did have the wins. Obviously, we can talk about the Crawford fight and the Kelbrook fight. I think that was the anniversary the other day. Actually, it came up on my timeline. No, the other day I think.
Okay, because it was in March. I thought that fight was in March.
Maybe I got it wrong. But I saw something about Kel come up, and I know you met him in Sheffield as well, and had a little sit down. I remember I was at Channel Night Out, and I came back at 4 a.m. to stay up and watch that. Fell asleep, missed the ending, had to rewatch the whole thing. So it was.
Man.
Yeah, sometime. Let me ask you, talked about Crawford a little bit there and said he jumped in the deep end with the broadcasting. Does he jump back in the deep end in boxing? And I look at him and think, selfishly as a fan, you always want to see someone like that fight. But I also think, if I'm him, for what? And then there's the whole Boots Ennis. And Boots now has talked more about Crawford than ever in retirement. I look and go, if he comes back and goes, let's run it.
Yeah.
Be honest, I know he's had a year out the ring, but he's in shape. You look at him, he's in shape.
Yeah.
What do you think about that fight, honestly?
Without saying too much, I will say that I don't think he's going to come back. And I don't want to say I know he's not going to come back, because I feel like that's saying too much. But, we've had our conversations long before he even fought Canelo Alvarez. We've had our conversations, and, we've had conversations over the years. And, I knew that time was coming after that Canelo fight, that, what else do you want to do? But again, here's what I've learned with boxing. I'm not coming back, but what I've learned is, if you have the ability to do it, and you just kind of equate that to a construction worker that was supposed to retire 2 years ago, but he's still healthy, he's still strong, he enjoys work, he loves the camaraderie of the people around him and all this and that. You could have retired 2 years ago, but you continue going. Nobody's gonna look at him and question, well, why are you still putting down? Why are you still building? Same thing for boxing. This is what we've done our entire lives. We still have the ability to do it. If we decide to come back and do it again, don't knock it. Don't question our finances. Don't question our health. Don't question the whys and all that kind of stuff. Just understand that this is what we've done our entire lives. And if we want to do it again, we're healthy. We're going to do it again.
Who are the fighters now? This is the last one. Who are the fighters that Shawn Porter, you say you're the fan at home, you're not doing the broadcast, even though I know you would because you're everywhere. Who do you pay to watch now? Who's like the top dogs? You go, you know what, I enjoy watching that guy. No Crawford anymore. Obviously, Boots is on the rise. You know, Dimitri Bivol's a good watch when he's in full flow state. You know,
I'm gonna pay to watch a lot of these young guys. I'm gonna pay to watch practically everything that's on boxing right now. And I'm just saying that, but if you're lining up the number 1 and number 2 guys or the top 5 guys, you know, you got Zepeda and Abdullah Mason out there. That's an amazing fight. You got
great fight.
You got Shakur possibly at some point maybe getting in the ring with Devin Haney. You got, you know, Keyshawn Davis possibly at some point getting in the ring with Devin. I think there's a lot of great fights to be made, and I'm willing to pay for just about all of it.
Have you spoke to Keyshawn at all? I don't know.
No, I haven't.
Because
I haven't.
I feel like it's quite easy to jump on. And look, when you're Devin Haney, who wants the fights and saying this, it's very easy to paint the narrative. And look, that's what it looks like from the outside.
Yeah.
But nobody really knows. And if he's got in the back of his mind, I have 2 fights left with Top Rank,
right,
I could do that, and I know there's mega money on the table somewhere else. I'm not saying that's happening.
And sorry to cut you off, but I'll give you this perspective real quick, right? So my team, when something was going on in the media, they would call and say, "Don't say nothing." And then my dad would either call me from the room or call me or something. He would say, "We're not saying anything. We're not gonna move. We're not gonna do anything." For Keyshawn Davis, it could have very well been he thought that he was gonna get it, and he did everything that he wanted to do, and nobody did what they've done with me. Don't say anything at all. You did all that showboating and everything that you said you wanted to do and all this and that, but then all of a sudden the business grabs you by the leash and says, "We can't do that right now."
It's such
and
a good
now
fight.
you put that out in front, and like I said before, like everybody wants to refer to it as a duck. Number one, don't refer to it as a duck of fear. None of us are afraid to get in the ring. Yes, we want the most money. Yes, we want the best positions and all those kinds of things, but it's never about fear or losing that losing that O. But then beyond that, gotta also understand when you're talking about Keyshawn and everything that he did, pay attention. For him to simply just at the snap of a finger, go quiet. Somebody told him to go quiet. Come pay attention. You're not paying attention. You should pay attention to this kid's channel right here because this is what's going on.
Yeah. Shawn Porter, I appreciate your time. I know you've got some training to do.
Yeah.
Do you also want to talk to me just in 2 minutes, because I know you've got training, about the female fighter you're training? Tell me a little bit about her.
Yeah, Melina Maybaum. She and we met 2 years ago. Funny enough, I was at the WBC convention, and I think she had been kind of searching for a coach and had talked to a couple of people and talked about possibly having an American coach, and they were like, "That's the guy."
Here we are.
We talked for a year, and we've been working together since I believe May, and we're looking to finally get in the ring here in October, November at the latest. So
we'll speak.
14-1. I don't know if I said that. So.
14-1. We'll speak to her
Awesome.
after her workout. Shawn Porter, I really appreciate your time.
You got it.